The schoolyard was supposed to be quiet that late afternoon, its cracked blacktop and faded hopscotch lines bathed in the golden spill of the setting sun. The children had already gone home, their laughter carried off by the breeze, leaving behind only the echo of sneakers and the creak of a loose swing. But on that particular day, silence didn't last long. Marcus Hale leaned on his mop in the shadow of the gymnasium wall, wringing out the last drops of soapy water from a bucket he had patched with duct tape more times than he could count. He was 43, shoulders thick from years of labor, his uniform shirt faded but clean, his steel-toed boots scuffed from battles fought against dirt and time. The most, Marcus was just the janitor, the man who smelled of lemon cleaner and bleach, always seen with his cart and his weary smile. But to his 10-year-old daughter, Emma, he was the world. Emma sat on the school steps, sketching in a notebook while she waited for her dad to finish. Her drawings were whimsical castles in the sky, superheroes with kind eyes, and sometimes, even her father, drawn taller than mountains with a mop that doubled as a shining sword. She looked up at him and grinned when she caught him watching. "Almost done, Daddy?" she asked. "Almost, Bug," Marcus replied, his voice roughened by years of hard work but softened whenever he spoke to her. He thought the evening would end like every other: lock up, head home, cook something simple, and read Emma a bedtime story. But fate had other plans. The squeal of tires broke the quiet. A sleek black car swung into the empty school lot, its engine growling as it skidded to a halt. 3 men stepped out, each built like they'd been carved from stone. Their clothes were sharp, but their faces carried the hardness of men who weren't afraid to hurt someone. They didn't look like they belonged anywhere near a schoolyard. And then, to Marcus's surprise, the back door of the car opened. Out stepped a man Marcus recognized, though he had never seen him in person before. Andrew Kessler, the billionaire CEO whose face appeared on magazines, whose name was tied to technology empires, whose speeches about leadership went viral. Kessler looked out of place against the cracked pavement of the schoolyard, his expensive suit catching the sunlight, his jaw tight with an emotion Marcus couldn't place: a fear. The 3 men closed in on him fast. "What are they doing?" Emma whispered, clutching her notebook to her chest. Marcus's gut twisted. He wasn't sure, but it didn't take a genius to know the CEO wasn't meeting friends for coffee. The men shoved Kessler toward the chain-link fence, their voices sharp, carrying threats Marcus couldn't fully hear. He glanced down at Emma. "Stay here," he said, his tone firm, the kind of tone that brooked no argument. "But, Dad, you stay right here." Marcus's heart thundered as he grabbed the only thing he had: his mop. The wooden handle was slick from years of sweat and cleaner, its frayed strands heavy with water. It wasn't a weapon, but it was what he had. He walked toward the men, his boots crunching gravel. "Hey!" Marcus called out, his voice echoing in the empty yard. "You're on school property. Time to leave." The men turned, their eyes narrowing at the interruption. One of them, tall with a jagged scar down his cheek, sneered. "Go back to your bucket, janitor. This ain't your business." But Marcus didn't stop walking. "You're making it my business," he said evenly. He planted the mop against the ground like a staff. For a second, everything hung in balance. Then the first man lunged. Marcus moved on instinct, swinging the mop in a wide arc. The wet strands smacked across the man's face, spraying soap into his eyes. The thug cursed, stumbling back. The others rushed forward, fists raised. But Marcus's years of hauling, lifting, scrubbing, and bending gave him strength most men underestimated. He ducked under a punch, drove the mop handle into another man's gut, and twisted. The sound of wheezing filled the air. Emma, wide-eyed, watched from the steps as her father fought like the heroes she sketched. The fight was raw, desperate, and uneven. Marcus wasn't trained, but he had something the others didn't, something he'd carried every day since Emma was born. He had purpose. He had a reason not to fall. Minutes felt like hours. By the time the dust settled, two of the men lay groaning on the pavement, and the third was spitting soap, swearing as he stumbled back toward the car. They dragged each other inside, their anger burning but their courage broken. The black car roared off, tires screeching as it disappeared into the night. Marcus stood there, chest heaving, sweat mixing with the smell of cleaner. His mop handle was cracked, splinters digging into his palms. Andrew Kessler, the CEO, stared at him as if he couldn't quite believe what had just happened. "You broken bar," Kessler's voice faltered. "You saved my life." Marcus wiped his brow with the back of his arm. Did what anyone would have done. But the truth was, not everyone would have. Most people would have stayed back, called for help, or looked the other way. Marcus didn't have that luxury. Not when his daughter was watching. Not when another human being was in danger. Emma ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Daddy, you were amazing." Marcus looked down at her, and then at the mop still clutched in his hand. For a moment, he wondered if this small act would end here, if it would just be another night where he picked up the pieces, locked the school, and went home. But he was wrong. That fight in the schoolyard was only the beginning, because Andrew Kessler wasn't a man who forgot debts, and Marcus Hale wasn't just a janitor with a mope. He was about to become something more, something that would change everything.